Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel. In this video, I'm going to be gluing some tires and showing you how that process works, what you need, some best practices kind of thing. Okay, first you're going to need rubber bands or tire bands. They come in different sizes. You can get bands like these that have the little nubs at the ends, or you can just use off-the-shelf rubber bands. People have been using these for decades and they work just fine. So it's up to you on where you want to put your budget. One thing I don't have with me right now is a hole punch, a leather hole punch. It's a tool that's been around for centuries, a couple centuries probably. I've got a couple of them and they are ancient. In other words, it's basically just something that will punch a hole in leather, and that works just fine for rubber. And basically you're punching a hole in the sidewall or in the top surface of the tire to let air in and out. I am not going to be using it with these tires. This is drag tires, and the rims already have holes in them. Generally that can be enough. It depends. Off-road tires where there's a lot of impact, you may want to put a couple holes in the sidewall on the inside or on the outer surface. I don't like doing them on the outer surface because I don't want the tires to pick up moisture and have that contaminate the foams. But you know, it's up to you how you do and what you do. The reason you might want a couple extra holes in the sidewall for off-road tires is that when the car is taking impacts, it's going to squish air out of the tire, and you want that tire to rebound quickly. Drag tires, I'm more worried about air getting in too fast, because as the tire, if it loses traction and spins up, the tire will literally balloon up like this big. It'll go from being square like this to you know, like pointed like that in the center, and it will stretch. It's quite impressive how out of shape these tires can get, even though they are belted and the wide sidewall has a lot of extra structure. You can literally see they've actually put a belt into the rubber of some type of nylon, or you can see where it overlapped during the manufacture process. And these tires will still get dramatically out of shape. I was testing my drag car the other day. I was working on the electronics, and I had just soldered up the electric speed control. I wanted to make sure that things were, you know, set up right. So I bound the receiver to the transmitter and blipped the throttle, and the tires were on the rims, just, you know, like for show. They were just, you know, not glued, and they almost came off the rims, and they ballooned up like that while the you know, during that little throttle up, and the time it took me to get my finger off the trigger. That race motor is really something else. It's going to be interesting. If you've been following this build, it's a 2.5 turn drag motor, and it's going to be pretty impressive. Hopefully the speed controller I'm using is up to the task. It's what I had on hand. I was running it with a 15.5 turn race motor, a Tekin Redline, and never had any issues. But the really low turn motors can be demanding. So anyway, if you want to punch holes in your tires, by all means do so. I want to limit how much air is getting into these drag tires so that if they start to try to balloon up, it's going to be a little hard for them to draw and fill up with air. Also, these have an open cell foam, not a closed cell foam, so I just don't think that air intake or air pressure being released is going to be a problem. So you want to seat your tire. Well, first we got to do some cleaning. Excuse me, I'm really stepping ahead here. I'm just using Simple Green. I get it in bulk and then transfer it to a spray bottle. Scotch Brite pads I always keep in my case. Take them in my field box. So what you want to do is you want to scuff up the tire, and while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and pull the foams out and set them aside because I don't want to tear them up with the Scotch-Brite pad. And you want to get any really, you see how it's slightly different colored here? It's kind of got a grayish, whitish. That's mold release. When these tires are made, they're basically made inside a pressure mold. Someone slathers this release agent around the inside of the mold so that the tire doesn't stick to the mold. The mold is probably metal, and then they heat and pressure and injection of hot liquid rubber, and you have a tire. That's why you have these little this little line here. That's where the seam is for the mold when they pull it apart. So you want to get any of that off of there, because it's designed to prevent things sticking, and we are trying to get the tire to stick to the rim. So we want to get it off of there. I usually like to rough up the edge a bit as well, and then I take the Scotch-Brite and I rough up the groove here and here where the tire is going to be actually glued to the rim, and then I clean everything with Simple Green to remove any any debris that I've created by the scuffing process. And some people just clean the tires. I like to scuff them up a little bit. I think anything extra you can do to make sure that your tires adhere properly is worth doing. It only takes a few seconds, and particularly with drag tires or things like 1/8 scale buggy tires, where the tires do tend to balloon massively, and things like where they're spinning up in the air, like you're jumping in 1/8 scale buggy or truggy, and those tires just turn into frisbees. That's an opportunity for them to tear loose. So you want to glue things on solidly. So basically you just take your pad. You don't have to get massive about this. You're just trying to rough it up a little bit. I'm just going to do one tire at a time and kind of show you the process. There's no need to repetitively have you watch me scrub tires with a Scotch-Brite pad. You could even use a light grit sandpaper on the rims if you wanted to. Now you should be able to see the difference between one rim and the other. Okay, take one of these lint-free cloths that you've seen me use before. Okay, now you should be able to really see a difference right here between the sidewalls on one tire and on another on this this surface right here. So we have a rim to clean. Okay, that's ready. Don't forget to put your insert back in. Make sure you've got that insert settled in there, that you haven't stretched it at one point and got it bound up at another. These are basically just short course rims, the 2.2 by 3s. In other words, you've got a 2.2 bead here and a 3-inch bead at the inside. That gives it a nice big sidewall, which lets them have that short course truck look, or in this case a fat drag tire look, and on the other side a nice tight bead. Now these are 1/8 scale buggy bands. They would not work for something like a 2.2 buggy because they're not going to give you enough stretch, but they should be okay for these. They might even be too small for these. Yeah, they're going to be a little small. I don't want to risk deforming that. Good old rubber bands. We're not trying to deform the tire. We're just trying to make sure the tire holds in close to the bead. So I'm going to put on 3 to 6 of these until I get the right amount of pressure. One more should do just fine. Yeah, okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pulling the tire away from the rim a little bit. We're going to be putting some glue in, letting it run around, and seating it back in. Now you can use regular CA. I'm not a big fan. I prefer to use the specific tire glue. It is formulated for a rubber plastic bond. It is still a CA glue. And there are many variants. These tend to be a little slower, even though it says Instacure. They do tend to give you a little time. That way you can make sure the rim is set. If you're using like fast CA, that stuff sets up like that. And if you don't have the rim seated, you could be gluing the tire in a deformed situation, you know, where it's glued in like this, or you know, like that, and you don't have the, you know, the tire seated in the bead. If you don't, it's not going to be perfectly round. It's going to vibrate. It's going to be a problem. So make sure that you've got some of there's a CA debonder. It's a liquid that you can buy that will it'll get CA off of your fingertips. If you get it on your fingertips, it'll debond tires, things like that. Some people will soak their tires in acetone. That'll probably destroy the foams, but whatever you have to do to undo the damage if you've done it. So this will ruin your cloth, but if you do get excess CA, you can just wipe it off. And that should be the last of it. So I'll set this aside. I'll let it cure up a bit. I know it looks kind of messy, but you know, such is the nature of working with this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead, scuff up and clean the rest of the tires and rims. Remember to take your foams out, and then remember to put them back in, because if you glue your tire together with the foams out, you're going to regret it. Anytime you can, it depends on the tire. If you can pull away to where you can actually see the rim and get the glue tip in there and get glue directly under the bead, that's always better. The short course tires, getting the front done like that can be difficult. Just because of the way things are shaped. And this really is an Instacure glue. It's not nearly as forgiving as what I had been using up until recently was a TLR tire glue, and you know, I had it, so I was using it, and I ran out of it the other day. That stuff definitely doesn't dry immediately. It gives you a little time to work with it. So this can just sit and dry. So that's all there is to it. You glue both sides, give them time. Don't pull the rubber bands off right away, even if it does say Instacure. Let the tire sit in its position with the bead held tightly by the rubber bands until it fully cures. Any excess glue around the edge, you want that to dry. I just wanted to show you something else. As with so many things in RC cars and planes, situations will dictate that you need to change your methods. And I'm going to give you an example of that right here. These front tires are a super soft tire, and they are for the drag car again, and I went with ultra soft because, you know, the tire is only going to be in contact a little bit, and when you're definitely going to need that little bit of steering. So that's why I went with the ultra soft. Regardless of the compound, this is a paper thin tire. It is super light by design. It's the front wheel on a drag car. It's you barely need anything. Half the time the front end's in the air. So unlike with this tire, these I am not going to use the Scotch-Brite pad on. In fact, I'm even going to be gentle about how I clean them, because again, this is so soft you feel like you could tear it or rip it. you could put a finger through it almost if you pull too hard on it. So, you know, use more cleaning fluid, less effort, and just get that mold release off with the simple grain versus, sorry, I was off camera for that. Just, you know, lightly, you know, wiping it off, a little bit of a, you know, pressure on it, but not so much that you risk tearing the tire, because it definitely is possible with this. It is unbelievably thin. I mean, it is just super soft and stretchy. So again, you know, sometimes you won't use the Scotch-Brite pad. I'll still do it on the rim, just not on the tire, because I don't want to risk damaging the tire. So things like that, you know, there's no in all cases do X. You know, there might even be situations where the rim, you might not use the Scotch-Brite, you might just use cleaning fluid. Let's say it's a really nice chrome finish or something like that, and you don't want to risk, you know, gouging up the outer surface. You know, you're going more for, you know, you want the car to have a certain look. In that case, you might use a little bit of sandpaper on a small scrap of wood and rub that, you know, in the center of the groove, or just use the simple grain only to remove any plastic mold release and take your chances. So again, you know, use your best judgment with any of these recommendations. Well, that's basically it. There's not much to doing tires. It's just you know, tedious work, and it's got to be done, and it's got to be done right. So take your time, make sure you've got all the stuff you need, and do a good job. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I taught you something. You know, again, it's not hard to do. It shouldn't be some people tend to fear doing certain tasks in the hobby. You know, they think they're going to screw up the tires by gluing them together. You know, they're not going to do it right. Just be patient, take your time. It's pretty hard to really destroy stuff. Just, you know, follow the basic directions, and you'll do fine. Please click like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps out my channel. The more subscribers, the better. And please keep coming back and watching my videos. Thanks.